But we
Some
have something
fancy
to talk
stuff.
about.
True,
We have
we
something
do.
to talk about this week. There was a crushing loss at the hands of a juggernaut opponent. This team was hot. There was a lot of wins stacking up, and it really seemed like they could make a run. And that would be Garett's high school football team, which has finally suffered their first loss of the season
Yep.
after a crazy streak in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, started the regular season 1-7, and just rattled off final one to end the season, and then went straight to the quarterfinals. Boys played hard, but eventually just catches up to you. Played a good game, so happy to see what they've improved on and ready to go into next season, man.
So yeah, this is our first ever episode of Talking Chop live. And yeah, let's get right into it.
Yeah, I want to just talk about that for a second.
This guy is a
Dude,
beast.
it seems like he just rubs butter on himself.
Because he had 2 touchdowns, baby. The Bills fans absolutely hate us, by the way, dude. Holy
Yeah,
cow.
it was insane, dude.
That Xavier Worthy video, thanks Instagram for giving it right to Bills fans so they could go shit on us for fucking,
It went from like 89 comments before the game, and now it's at like 250 or whatever. Just straight hate, dude. It is hilarious.
My favorite part of it too is Worthy had his literal best game / second best game of the entire season. So Garrett, your take was not even that bad. It was.
Yeah,
exactly.
I mean, I overshot the yards a little bit, but I mean, if a certain someone makes a couple of better throws, maybe he does go over 100 yards. Maybe he has another touchdown. But we don't live in the world of ifs and metaphoricals, right? We live in the world of reality, and then the reality is, we got beat, and we got beat because of a lot of different things. Buffalo's a great team. We're gonna see them probably in January down the line. And we have a lot to improve on.
We definitely do. And I mean, this was a game that obviously you want to win. You're going up against one of the best contenders that you're definitely going to have to go through in order to make the Super Bowl. And, you couldn't get it done in their stadium yet again. And honestly, Mahomes in the regular season against Buffalo hasn't been getting it done. Maybe because Andy Reid
really
just
the
wants
complete opposite player. I mean, what is it now? It's 5-1 in the regular season versus 0-3 in the playoffs for Josh Allen, right?
Yeah.
I'm not sure why he can't just kind of flip that switch. I mean, even if it is just regular season, I mean, we were 9-0 at the time. They were 8-2. I mean, that's a crucial game later down the season if it's going to come down to seeding potential, right? If we're kind of tied in terms of numbers, I mean, they're going to take the spot over us. So that was a really big game.
It really was. And for those of you who aren't familiar with us, this is me, David Pokorny, the face of Upper Hand Chiefs. I'm behind the scenes making all of your videos, all of your graphics, all of your stupid Minecraft animated videos that I made that one time that randomly projected the 49ers Mahomes scramble. This, to my right, is Garett Aimutis, offensive line coach for our local high school. He's been busy this week / this rest of the whole year coaching. And yeah, we're finally having time to do it live, to do the show live. And then we couldn't do any of this live stuff or any of the random stats that we just have random information and ideas come in our head that we need fact checked. And that's what Jackson does here. He's been really great about fact checking us, making sure that we're staying on it, staying on our P's and Q's, I guess. Is that the saying? But yeah, Jackson's going to be
Q's and
helping.
P's, who knows? Could be either or.
Jackson's going to help us manage the comments today too. So that's going to be great. Let's go right in.
No, hang on. No, this is not Carson's brother.
He is not Carson Steele's brother. No.
Oh,
No,
Can see the confusion a little bit.
Steele's my middle name, not my last.
Oh, I understand now. I was so confused. I was like, what? Yes, this is Carson Steele's brother. That's good. Okay. We're going to go right into the injury report. Basically, player news. We do this every week. Kingsley, not injured. He was a healthy scratch, Garrett.
Yeah.
Andy Reid came out and said, sometimes you got to take a few steps back to go forward. And that made Kingsley a healthy scratch after.
And I found that to be a really surprising move, not because of his play. I kind of expected it to happen eventually, but after we had signed another individual to kind of roll into that spot in case of injury, right? We didn't sign Donovan Smith, which I'm hoping we do so in the future very quickly. But had someone like Wanye Morris gone down, that puts into a bunch of different situations with the line, right? Do we move Joe Tooney out to tackle? Do we take a risk with Ethan Driscoll, moving him to left, or maybe even moving Jawan Taylor to left? I'm not sure what the plan was, just in case there was an injury. Luckily for us, Wanye Morris didn't go down in the game, but I'm not sure what the exact thought process of that healthy scratch was, but Wanye didn't play horrible. I mean, he didn't play great either. There was a lot of times, especially on that Xavier Worthy kind of like toe tap sideline touch where Wanye just got beat straight off the line immediately, which might have pressured Mahomes into making a bad throw. I'm not going to make any more excuses for the guy because he has not played up to par. But just saying, Wanye hasn't been playing great, and I'm not sure why we had scratched Kingsley if we didn't have a guy to replace him, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, me neither. And I mean, I guess the plan was Ethan Driscoll was going to get the start. I mean, he's 6'8", he's huge, and I know that the Chiefs like him. He was really the healthy scratch most of the weeks until this week when he was active. So I guess that would have been maybe the plan. And you know what? With the way the tackle situation has been going, let him play some snaps against the Panthers. Let's see what Ethan Driscoll's got in a real live reps. I loved his preseason film. His preseason film is quite amazing. He's also a fast tackle as well, which, I mean, we were talking about Kingsley getting beat by edge rushers with a lot of speed. I mean, 6'8", fast, he has all the immeasurables. Maybe the technique needs to be taught to Driscoll. So I'm excited if that ends up being a solution.
And our
to the
boy
problem.
Chiefs Talk said he was taking pregame snaps at right tackle, which kind of in my eyes kind of confirms that they would have probably moved Jawan Taylor over to left and slided Driscoll up to right tackle had there been an injury with Wanye. But who's to know in a game? I think if it's a closer game, we might have to stick with Joe Tooney and move one of our guards up. I think we'd be a little bit more comfortable in that position, but who's to say?
Well, we have some transactions to report as well. Cornell Powell was released from the practice squad, and he's been kind of a Chiefs fan favorite for some people in some communities. Like, he's been with the team for forever, it feels like. He was a 5th-round pick out of Clemson, played alongside Justin Ross in college. He's really not done anything on the active roster.
Really. I mean, he's just been consistently that guy that is always on the practice squad. Like, so many Chiefs homers are like, give him a chance. Especially when we got super low on receivers, just why don't we just give him a chance, put him out there? Some of the guys just don't make the cut, and it is what it is.
Yeah, but I mean, hey, we made a new move at wide receiver. This is a guy I actually really like, and I've wanted him for forever because I knew the Patriots were shopping him around and potentially going to trade him for cheap. I definitely wanted him a lot earlier when we had wide receiver problems. Now it feels like we have great wide receivers and don't really need him. Welcome to the team, Tyquan Thornton. Baylor wide receiver, 2nd-round pick, 2022 for the Patriots. Super fast guy. Actually went before Sky Moore did in the draft. I think like 2 picks before Sky Moore did with our own pick. Like, we traded that pick. So, that's who the Patriots wanted. And ironically, he ends up on the Chiefs now.
Yeah, and I mean, he brings that kind of another element of speed to the offense. But as I talked about earlier, if we were going to sign anybody, I feel like our main problem is protection and allowing kind of these routes and setups to develop. Why not bring in Donovan Smith? Is there something going on the back end that maybe Donovan Smith kind of realizes that we are in a bind seriously, and he has a lot of leverage in terms of making a deal, making a contract? I'm not exactly sure, but if we don't solve our tackle issue, this exact same outcome we saw on Sunday is going to happen in the playoffs at some point. I'm not saying it's against Buffalo again. It could be anybody. But if we do not solve our tackle problems, doesn't matter who we have out there at wide receiver. If our quarterback, who even right now isn't playing too great, is being rushed to make a lot of throws, we're not going to be able to have setups. And I'm seeing comments down there.
Yeah, I was about to say.
I would love to bring him in, but he has been very vocal on his own podcast that he's really not been a Chiefs guy. We might have already been talking to him, but he's like, nah, I hate the Chiefs. But
okay,
it's so funny because he's literally like, oh, sorry, Jackson.
That proposes a question then, Garrett, that sorry if I pronounce this wrong, but Balafny posted. Do you think with the O-line that we have right now, then we could make it all the way?
The issue is with our run game, right? If we call perfect games, right? Andy Reid, we were getting over 4 yards a carry with Kareem Hunt this game. He had 14 carries, which isn't a small number, but in a game like that where it comes down to the wire and time of possession is very important, I feel like running the ball a lot more would have been crucial, right?
Especially because Hunt got like 20-plus carries, 25 carries almost every game, and we got destroyed in the time of possession last game.
And it's not like we were like too far behind most of the game. I mean, I feel like he just got a little antsy in play calling. We need to be able to have a balanced offense, which is what we've had the majority of the season so far. But now that teams are noticing that if they send a lot of their pressure at our tackles, they're going to get there early, right?
Yeah.
So if we can fix it even a little bit and give Mahomes just that half second more to throw, I think we can win games down the stretch. But as it is right now, it's going to be tough.
Here's a point that I wanted to make later, but I think it's applicable right now, is the pass protection out of the running back position has been really bad. And that's honestly another factor that goes into, deep shots. If we look back at the Chargers game, our favorite player, Sky Moore, checked into the game to do like a running back pass protection block to give Mahomes enough time to get that throw to Xavier Worthy in the end zone against the Chargers. And it was one of Mahomes' best. It is Mahomes' best throw of the season, like without a doubt. Okay, look at Carson Steele. Absolutely whiffed a couple blocks in this game in pass pro. He may be really good as a mauler, like fullback, but he hasn't been good in pass pro. Who is really great at pass pro? Isaiah Pacheco. I think this might be the most underrated aspect of Pacheco returning potentially this week is his pass protection. Like we've seen it time and time again. Jerick McKinnon taught Isaiah Pacheco everything he knew. And I know, guys, I want Jerick McKinnon back just as much as the next guy, but I don't think he has a place on this team yet. And I think, his time here is done, but he has passed on what he has learned, his mastership, to Isaiah Pacheco. And when he comes back, you're going to see Pacheco in on more third downs than he ever has been in his entire life, because he's going to be protecting Mahomes, because our tackles
and that's the thing
sure
with
can't.
Kareem Hunt too, right? Is that once Isaiah Pacheco comes back, Kareem Hunt already has been explosive as a player, not necessarily with a lot of long runs, but keeping us in games with consistent 4-5 yard gains, right? And we don't see a lot of his pass pro downs because he gets taken out on a lot during third down, right? He has not been our third down back, right? So when Pacheco comes back, the protection is going to get a lot better. Our 1-2 tandem with Kareem Hunt and Isaiah Pacheco, where they're both going to be able to give each other breaks, not get tired, is going to really evolve our run game. But like I said, we still need to be balanced. We still need to be able to throw the ball. So haven't heard much news, again, about Donovan Smith. I hope it happens soon, but
Nate
we'll
Taylor
see.
reported that there was if something were to happen to Wanye, we would call him. So I think that's more of like a if Wanye gets injured type beat, which I don't know if that's a good thing. I still think bringing in Donovan Smith would be helpful just in terms of having a veteran leader, because it's not about a question of can these players do it. It's the technique that needs to be taught to them, and I think Donovan can do it. And back with Bakhtiari, I think both Donovan and Bakhtiari have been injured, and that's the concern, I think, with are they still able to start at this point? And because Bakhtiari hates us for some reason. He says we're ref merchants, by the way. That was like the point he makes on his podcast, which is like, okay, David, like, anyway. Let's move on to our last bit of news. This one surprised me, Garrett. We didn't really have a chance to talk about it last week. Harrison Butker went on IR like before, last week.
Just kind of out of nowhere. I
Meniscus.
mean, the news just kind of popped, and you're not really the kind of player you expect to see on IR right before a game, but obviously something either happened in warm-ups or pregame or in practice, but he's going to be out another 3-4 weeks, right? And that gives us another issue that we have to solve. I mean, obviously, what was his name? Spencer Brown. I don't even remember the kicker's name, right?
Spencer Schrader.
Spencer Schrader. I mean, he was all right. I don't think he missed a kick. So
we didn't kick any field goals. We only kicked extra points. So, but I mean, it is telling. He only played one game. He's a rookie, by the way, too, which is kind of cool. He only played one game with the Jets, and he made both his field goals. One of them was like a 45-yarder, so a quality kick. And then the Jets are so dumb that they have all their kickers on their practice squad, and all season they've been just elevating everybody, trying to see, okay, who's going to be our next kicker? And then the Chiefs are like, oh, you see, by the rules, we can sign your kicker.
We're going to take your best one that we saw. So
yeah. So thanks, Jets, for auditioning the kickers for us so that we could pick one immediately when it went down. So that's why I love that move, just because it's like a little like F you to the Jets, which is hilarious.
And we saw this comment too. The Hollywood Brown tweet kind of insinuating that he might come back sooner rather than later. I'm not sure about the whole intangibles when it comes to that, but obviously we'd love to see him come back before playoffs, get him some reps before those really important, one and done games. But with an injury like that, it's probably unlikely, especially with Andy, who as conservative as he is with injuries, he's probably not going to put him in until he's absolutely ready.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it's the Panthers, which are on a winning streak, and we're going to talk about the Panthers later. But I mean, let's get right into what happened in the Bills game, Garrett. Like, oh boy, that was not exactly the game script we wanted.
Not exactly what we wanted, but it's not exactly, unexpected, right? Buffalo's a great team. I mean, we were on a super long win streak. We can't expect to win every single game we go up against, and especially with a team of the caliber like Buffalo, you're gonna drop one, right? We've dropped multiple of them in the regular season before, right? Do I say we could have won that game? Yes, but obviously Buffalo took advantage in the late game and just did the things they needed to do in the fourth quarter to win, right?
Obviously,
Number one, Mahomes.
Yeah. I was going to say, obviously starting the game with an interception is not ideal, especially to Taylor Rapp, who, by the way, Bills fans, the reel doesn't include that we were also praising Taylor Rapp, but we were just saying he's not Jordan Poyer / Micah Hyde level. But of course, Taylor Rapp gets an interception after getting name dropped on us by the week before.
Yeah, that was kind of instant karma on us, not going to lie, call him slow. But the issue is...
the ball went right to him. He didn't have to move.
Those kind of interceptions is what Mahomes has been getting used to throwing for some reason this year.
Yeah.
It's just these boneheaded, ridiculous mistakes. I mean, he's getting tackled from behind. I understand he's under pressure, but he just duck sails it over the head of Kelsey straight into Taylor Rapp's arms. It was on second down too. It's not like it's third down to save the drive, right? He just made a really stupid mistake, and this has not been the first time this has happened this year. I'm not sure what the problem is. We kind of have a prediction that there's someone in the Chiefs front office that we didn't have before when Mahomes was playing good to what we have now that may or may not be the cause. Not saying this is true, but I'll let David take over.
It's just an interesting trend to note. I mean, you have, since Eric Bieniemy went on to go pursue other opportunities because he wasn't getting head coaching interviews that he wanted, so he thought, all right, let me go turn around, Washington's offense so that I can be seen in a different light than just Andy Reid's, disciple, I guess. But Matt Nagy comes back. The season we last had Bieniemy, Mahomes had 41 touchdowns and 12 interceptions. That's amazing. That's exactly what we're expecting from him year in and year out. The following year, when Nagy takes over, 27 touchdowns passing only on the entire season and 14 interceptions. So interceptions stayed about the same, but the touchdowns just went down incredibly. And then right now at 2024, we're sitting at 15 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. That's only through 10 games. And if Mahomes gets to 20 interceptions by the end of the year, man, there's just going to be some uncomfortable conversations that we're going to have. Like something is wrong, and who's to blame? It could be Mahomes, but I don't doubt that he's going to fix himself. I don't doubt that he's going to get it all figured out again. But to say that we have lost games or have gotten really close to losing games because of Mahomes is not entirely false. And that sucks to say, honestly.
And when we're talking about this stuff, we're not expecting him to, become Superman instantly and go straight back up to the number one QB slot, right? If he even plays as a top 15 quarterback right now, which arguably I don't think he is, if he just jumps back into those better than average numbers, right? I think we are a lot better off in games.
For example, Aaron Rodgers has 17 touchdowns passing and only 7 interceptions. And the Jets have been horrible. Like, we're not winning because of Mahomes.
And I feel like, it comes down to the point where this year, if our defense isn't up to par, isn't like holding them at this point even under 20, we're in these games, right? This was the first time in, I think, what was it, like 20 something games that we gave up more than 20 points.
It was the Eagles Super Bowl. The Eagles Super Bowl was the last time.
The Eagles Super Bowl was the last time we let more than 28 points on defense. And if we can't follow up with obviously playoff playbooks are going to be different, right? But in a game like that, like I said earlier, where it's going to come down to playoff seeding, why aren't we opening up the playbook if it's not an important game?
Here's another note. The thing that I saw. DeAndre Hopkins played under 60% of the snaps again. He has yet to exceed that limit. And I don't think it's a playbook learning issue at this point. Is Veach just trying to get smart so he can keep the 5th round pick or the 4th round pick? Because the contingency is, one, we need to make the Super Bowl. And he needs to play less than 60% of the snaps. So is Veach just trying to continue that? And it might cost us some games. Like, if it's a 4th round pick, I get it. We have hit on 4th round picks like no other. L'Jarius Sneed, Jaden Hicks, Chamari Connor, all 4th round picks. But dude, the difference between the 4th and 5th round pick versus the 3P, come on, let Hopkins play, because you got to win these games, man. And Hopkins needs to be out there as much as possible to get that chemistry with Mahomes.
And another kind of thing that we wanted to mention in terms of Mahomes' numbers is that Mahomes has had 4 receivers go over 100 yards on the season so far, right? 2 of those being Rashee Rice in week 1 and week 3, right? So since week 3, we've only had 2 more receivers go over 100 total receiving yards on the season. That being Juju when he went for 130 against the Saints, and Kelsey when he went for 100 against the Bucks.
Like exactly 100. So he barely hit that mark. And Kelsey had a career high 14 catches. So it wasn't even like a depth of field thing either. That was check down city against the Buccaneers. But hey, we looked good. I liked our offense against the Buccaneers. But yeah, I mean, we've had some interesting receiving leaders this season. We've had a game where Noah Gray led the team with receiving yards. We've had a game where Kareem Hunt led the game in receiving yards, and that was the Broncos game. And this week, we had Xavier Worthy lead the team in receiving yards for the first time of his career with 61. Almost 100, like our video said, if he would have just had drug the toes and caught that 40-yard bomb. Or
if Mahomes leads him up the field, and he probably walks in for a touchdown. It's these little things that are losing us games, especially at the quarterback position and the wide receiver position, right? And I'm going to give him one last benefit of the doubt. He has been under siege in terms of pressure all year because of our tackles, right? Our interior guys, best in football. Our interior 3, guard, center, guard, best in football. Our tackles are ranked dead last. There are other tackles in the league that are starting. Actually, they're not starting. That are better than the ones we have starting right now.
Jeez, that's not good.
It is terrible, and it needs to be fixed. If we expect to go deep in the playoffs and not, let's say we get the first round bye and then we play in the divisional. If we don't expect to get beaten in the divisional round, we need to fix our O-line situation. Period.
Well, that's the only time we've lost a Super Bowl game was when we had an O-line issue. I mean, also too, Garrett, you got to think about the depth of this O-line. It is shallow. There isn't that many guys that can come back up should someone go down. Like, God forbid we lose Joe Thuney. God forbid we lose Creed Humphrey. Even though Mike Caliendo, who, by the way, one of the good things in this game is Mike Caliendo caught a pass. Mike Caliendo has actually developed into a really nice backup everything on the offensive line. Kind of an emergency tackle, but center and guard, Caliendo. I'm going to shout you out, Caliendo, because you've been doing great. And, we've been kind of negative today. So shout out to Mike Caliendo. But yeah, no, Garrett, I mean, behind Kingsley, it's Godric on the practice squad, Ethan Driscoll, who is unproven, but I'm really excited should he get a chance to prove himself. And
TJ Hansen, I mean, he's
a guard. Like,
he's a guard, so we can't really fit him at a tackle. Like I said, we need to sign somebody now, and it can't be a forethought. Can't be, oh hey, playoffs are about to start, let's go sign. No, it needs to be right now. And with that, do we want to just jump straight into the bad of the Bills recap, because there's a lot.
Well, and also too, someone's asking about the defensive line, which we were going to talk about too. Garrett last week in our episode said he feels like we're missing a lot of sacks, and Garrett, we got proved right this week because Josh Allen was not sacked once. He was evading every sack. All we needed was a tackle on 4th and 2nd, and all of a sudden, instead, it was a touchdown in order to seal the game. We could have allowed a field goal. We had 3 timeouts still, or at least 2.
That's the thing with our defensive line this year that I'm not sure has changed since last year. And I mean, there was a little bit of that struggle last year too, don't get me wrong. But it seems we are really good at getting pressure, but once we get home, we're opening the door, right? So we get to the quarterback and they just get away. We can't bring them down. I'm not sure if it's a tackling issue or if it's just we're getting us in the wrong position where maybe we're stretching the outside too much, they're fitting up in the middle, or we're sending too much pressure inside, allowing them to roll out. I'm not sure but our pressures are getting there, but we're not getting home.
And the thing too is, I mean, look at Baker Mayfield, what he did against our defense. He was just running all over. It looked like Baker back in college when he was doing that at Oklahoma. Like, I mean, we're seeing quarterbacks too that don't normally scramble get some evaded sacks, you could say. And Bo Nix did not have any positive rushing yards, but he was not getting sacked either, just evading everything. The Chiefs defense had 19 sacks this year. We only have 19 this year. We had 57 last year. 57 sacks. We are through 10 games already, and we have 19. We are barely averaging 2 sacks a game. And, I mean...
And it's not like we're playing the most mobile of quarterbacks. I mean, we played Lamar in week 1. We played Allen last week, obviously. But other than that,
Kirk Cousins.
Have we really? I mean, Kirk O'Chains, man, just the most elusive quarterback alive. But We should be eating up these quarterbacks, and it's just not happening. We're just missing sacks.
Here's a sad thing that I want to report on is Josh Uche, the new guy that we just signed, only had 5 snaps in the entire game. And like we thought we were going to, bring in some help. We didn't sign him, we traded for him. Thought we were going to bring in some help on the pass rushing, until Amenahue gets back, which is getting closer and closer. Uche has looked great. I've been hyper analyzing him in the times he's played. He's looked great. Why is he not getting out there more?
Yeah,
because someone
And
needs to finish sacks.
to Josh Uche's defense, we talk about how hard it is to learn the Chiefs' offensive playbook. The Chiefs' defensive playbook is significantly harder. The thing that we excel at most of the time is getting pressure from these unconventional places, right? Unconventional places where sending cornerbacks from odd spaces, even when we have numbers off on the wrong side, getting into pressure, right? So Josh Uche is currently learning the playbook, learning where he needs to be, where these blitzes are, where these stunts are. So it's going to take him time to get a lot more snaps on the defensive line. But that's another thing I wanted to talk about that kind of leads us into these really tough scenarios where some people are saying, why is this guy always wide open, right? It's because the way Spags' defense works is he's sending pressure, but he's also leaving numbers to the wrong side of the field, right? Defensive football is a game where you can have 6 guys on one side of the field and 5 guys on the other, right? So as an offense, your job is to find where the 5 guys are so you can get numbers over there and get their 6th guy. So if Spags sends a blitz from the 5 side, which leaves us 4, sure, it's going to be unexpected. We can get a pressure, but it also leaves the area wide open, right? It's a very high risk, high reward defense. And obviously, last week, a lot of risk and not a lot of reward.
Hey, and people are commenting too right now, saying the linebacker and safety play has gone downhill. And I could also agree with that in terms of coverage for the linebackers. Great at run stuffing, all these linebackers are. Not great in pass coverage. And also, safety play has definitely deteriorated. Brian Cook has not made the leap that I thought he was going to make this season. And Justin Reed is starting to look a little regressed. They're like we said against the Broncos game too. Like they're getting bullied by big wide receivers. They're getting bullied by tight ends, and like they're kind of being exposed. Jaden Hicks has been playing a little bit. Like his snaps have increased ever so slightly throughout these games. And again, he got an interception in limited time. I am excited for the future of the safety position. I don't know how you go about starting him over these proven vets already who have the leadership qualities and the wherewithal to run the Spags defense that I think is more valuable at this point in time. But yeah, I mean, I really don't know why Justin Reed's regressed. It's kind of hard to see.
We got to talk about the corners. I mean, Najee Johnson had probably his worst game of his career so far, and it was scorched earth with the way Josh Allen was treating Najee Johnson. I mean, 103 yards, a touchdown, 75% completion allowed for Najee Johnson. Completely annihilated him. We are really missing Jalen Watson right now. Trent McDuffie can hold his own, but he can't hold 3 other
two sides of the
individuals,
field.
right? So I'm not sure how we fix that right now because, as you said before, with the amount of injuries we have, depth is an issue, especially at the cornerback position, and especially in Spags' defense, where you need to know pretty much every position in the DB area, even if you're just playing corner, because we have corners going back to safety. Safety's coming down to play corner. It's a really hard defense to learn, and it's not going to be an easy, sign this guy, pick him up, put him right out there. That's just not the solution.
Well, and the reason they're still available at this point in the season is probably due to the fact that they are not as good of players as they used to be. And corner is one of those positions that regresses faster. It's running back and corner, in my opinion, that regress the fastest. And unfortunately, and even for Xavier Howard, who might have something left in the tank, bro's just a horrible human being off the field. And I don't think he's going to ever have an NFL job again. So that, unfortunately, is not an option. And then you have guys like Najee Johnson, Chamari Connor that are converted safeties playing corner. Their prime position is to be in the slot. They are really good in the slot, but they are not outside corners. L'Jarius Sneed was just a freak exception to this rule of being a safety that played a lot of corner in college too, that was just able to be a lockdown outside corner. And Jalen Watson has, oh my gosh, he was the one to make the biggest step forward. Josh Williams has made huge steps back when he was supposed to be CB2 or 3. And Josh Williams...
Yeah, I mean, he had a pretty good season last year. It's just, the regression has been very prominent.
And it does have to do with he is a slower guy. And, as you get older, and he's not even that old, he's still super young. But like, honestly, the big issue with Josh Williams too is I think the coaching staff is tired of the penalties with him. He's gotten 3 or 4 penalties on special teams alone in these last couple of weeks too. And it's just like, you can't be out there if you're costing yards, especially at DB. I mean, it's just Rashad Fenton all over again. Honestly, Josh Williams is doing the Rashad Fenton career trajectory where it's like looks really good for first 2 years, and then the regression and penalties start to click up and add up. So, yeah, let's pivot back to the wide receivers for 1 second because Garrett, I have a fun little fact for you. Noah Gray outsnapped every single wide receiver on our roster. Noah Gray was on the field longer than any other freaking wide receiver that we have.
I noticed,
crazy.
especially when we get down to the red zone, we really just kind of put in our 2, even 3 tight end sets, and we just go really heavy down there, which I don't mind, right? I don't mind being a run heavy, just heavy body 3 tight end set down in the red zone, right? But obviously he had a pretty good game as a red zone target, had 2 touchdowns on the game. But when you have guys like Worthy, it was his best game. But like at the same time, we need all of our other receivers to show out, right? D-Hop, he had that one really nice snag on the sideline. But other than that, was quiet all the game. Kelsey was quiet all the game. Worthy had a lot of moments in the first half, was completely just quiet in the second half, which, do I agree that we should have called a lot more plays his way? Feed the hot hand? Yeah, I think we should have. But, what's done is done. We can't talk about the past too much. But going forward, I like what I saw from Worthy. It's just Mahomes can't connect with him in the right way. And I'm not sure how we fix that right now.
Well, it seems to be a huge mental thing with Worthy that I like. And Andy Reid is a genius when it comes to the mentals of his players. One of the first plays out the gate was an end around to Xavier Worthy that got him 7 yards. And that was exactly what you needed to do. Get this kid confident. Then all of a sudden it was, quicker, fast passes to Worthy. He made some incredible catches early on, getting hit, and you just
got lit up in double coverage on that one catch deep down the field. It was I'm surprised at his size. He came down with that ball, and
he got back up.
And then the moment he has that sideline mishap, which if he gets led down the field as a walk-in touchdown, he's completely silent. It's like Mahomes instantly lost faith in him, and it wasn't even really his fault.
Well, and Mahomes did actually come out again and say that he missed Worthy again. Mahomes has continued to put the blame on himself and not on Worthy, which I think is great because Worthy definitely was probably beating himself up a lot. And I think Mahomes saying that is helping, definitely. But you just saw him get electric after every first down that he was getting. And he was killing it that first drive. More Worthy, more confident Worthy is what we need to see. And, that's that. But, and then we can go talk about Hopkins too. Just, we said earlier in the show, like he's been limited on a snap count. We theorize because Veach wants his 5th round pick to go, not the 4th round pick. And
I
the
really
contingency.
hope that's not the case, man.
I really hope it's not the case either. But it's a common trend that he's been sitting right under that 60% snap that is supposed to make that 5th round turn into a 4th round. So it is for the whole rest of his time as a Chief, but still.
But yeah, in short recap, I'm excited to see this team again in the playoffs if, the cards fall in that right way. I would love to play Buffalo in the playoffs again. When they have Keon Coleman back, they have all their guys back. We have all our guys back. So we can see a full-on just juggernaut fight. Everyone's fully healthy. We can see how this game goes, right? Buffalo fans, it's always real classy with them. It's always fun to go back and forth, on talking after the game. Just kind of like having the right to talk about who's better. But who knows? Hopefully we have the first round bye because we had our really early bye as we saw earlier. So we really need rest.
Yeah. And, I'm just going to round out some of the comments before we get into our Panthers preview. I'm seeing a lot of great questions from y'all. And I like what Gibson Junie says, Worthy's going to be a star for us. We're looking at the season completely differently if only 3 or 4 of those catches that he's missed are completions. That's 200 more yards that are missing. All of a sudden he's leading the Chiefs in receiving yards. All of a sudden the narrative is completely changed.
And not even drops, just overthrows. If Mahomes can connect on these passes, it's a completely different narrative.
I also like what La Flame Joey says is a healthy Bills versus healthy Chiefs game. That's game of the year. I agree. The fireworks off the gate, and I really want to play the Bills again, just because obviously you put your sports take out there and you have a good time. But the fact that our sports take was like half right and like honestly one that nobody was confident or felt comfortable sharing, and the Bills fans are just like,
Dude,
ah.
if you guys want to laugh, go in the comment section of our Worthy reel and just scroll through all the Bills hate. It is the funniest thing ever.
Hey, they were super happy to win.
Dude, they're calling me fat, dude. I love being fat. The I was like, oh yeah, because I said I had a gut feeling, and he's like, man, must be a really big feeling. Then you got a big gut there. I'm like,
oh my
you are
God,
right,
I didn't
brother.
see that. That's
you are
hilarious.
right, brother. I love it, dude. I love it.
Yeah, and then we've said he needs to build confidence. Worthy does. LaFlame said that. Noah Gray helping for the retirement of Kelsey by the honorable. I definitely wanted to touch on that because I think that's going to be a really great player to take over for Kelsey should he decide to retire. He could retire at the end of the year, Garrett. We don't know that for sure. I mean, I think he's going to play until the brakes fall off, but that was before he started dating a celebrity megastar. So unfortunately, that does play into these things. But Noah Gray signed to a 3-year extension, greatest steal.
I mean, we've been Noah Gray supporters forever. I mean, he has been one of my favorite players. Just he's such a sneaky pick because once Kelsey retires, it's going to be lights out. I feel like Noah Gray can really fit into that role. He's made some phenomenal catches, really clutch catches down the stretch, and he's just really fitting into this offense, kind of doing the same thing that Kelsey. He's learning how to find those soft spots and zones. It's a really hard thing to pick up, but once he does, it's going to be nightmarish for defenses.
Yeah, absolutely. And before we get into our Panthers segment, let's just go over our receiving yards. Oh, Jackson's the one on the side here. That's hilarious.
I've been thrown away, guys.
I don't know if they could still hear you, Garrett, but I can. So, I mean, hey. I mean, we got Travis Kelce. We got Worthy. Finally passing Rashee Rice, who has been the week 3 leader for the rest of... He's been there since week 3 has been the crazy part. Like, good on Worthy. Or, I mean, good on Rice. But, yeah. Let's go back to our triple box so we can get Garrett in. We joined in the wrong order. That's funny. But, yeah. Moving on to the game of the week. The Kansas City Chiefs versus the Red Hot Panthers, coming off of 2 wins for the Panthers. The Chiefs coming off their first loss of the season.
A ton of Bryce Young edits came out of nowhere, especially when we were still undefeated at the time. It's like, no, the Bills aren't going to be the ones to do it. The Panthers are going to take down the Chiefs and their undefeated season. That hype's gone, obviously. I really did love the Bryce Young edits. I think he was completely screwed by their organization when they benched him for Andy Dalton. Just really dumb move by them. I understand if you're playing bad, I get it, but let the guy get his reps. Was Andy Dalton really going to do that much more for you? As it turns out, no, he wasn't.
And what's funny too, Garrett, you are not a Bryce Love supporter at all, and never were in the past. You did not think it was a good draft pick when it happened, but you still think the Panthers should stand by their guy. You pick a guy 1-1, and I think I completely agree. I cannot believe they even thought for a second to bench him, because it's the same thing with Anthony Richardson too. You're giving up too fast on a young quarterback. I get it. You want him to learn, but the best way to learn is to be out there playing for your guys. And at the same time, they are losing games, so it's better draft strategy wise too. Like, why wouldn't you want your young quarterback to get as many minutes as you can? Anthony Richardson has answered the call after getting benched. Bryce Young has answered the call after getting benched. It is great to see both young quarterbacks bouncing back so fast and leading their teams. Like, they're also great leaders too, which is why I hate that they got benched. Richardson is one of the greatest personalities in football, and Bryce Young is a soft-spoken leader, but like, the team likes him. But
yeah,
that's my soapbox.
Every year when it comes to, or every week now, it seems it's just the same situation, right? Guys are injured, guys are out. Especially with them, their left tackle Ikem Ekwonu out for the game. Big loss for them. I saw Adam Thielen was questionable, so he's been on and off. He's had some really good games and some really bad games. So is it really a big miss for them? I'm not sure. Our buddy
I think
Vish,
he might make his debut. I think Thielen might make his debut this week. He's been talking about how he's excited for it. They did a fake Monday walkthrough practice, and he was spotted. So he's off IR. So Adam might come back. And even if he doesn't, I mean, Garrett, Jalen Coker, man. The story of the century. If you guys are unaware, Jalen Coker came out of Holy Cross, which is the exact same college our draft pick CJ Hansen came out of. And when I was doing my draft film on CJ Hansen,
I couldn't find Holy Cross's offensive line film, but I could find Jalen Coker's film. So I watched CJ Hansen through Jalen Coker's film. Jalen Coker's now on a 53-man roster. Who knew Holy Cross could just get some NFL players to come out of the woodworks, right? But he's been playing all right.
He's been playing good. I mean, he got them to trade Mingo. Jalen Coker was so good, they traded away their former second-round pick wide receiver out of Ole Miss and Mingo to the Cowboys for way more than I thought they could possibly get out of him. But we don't need to talk about the Cowboys making dumb financial choices by giving a fourth-round pick for Mingo. But yeah, Coker has been amazing and honestly a really great contributor who's been getting like at least 4 catches every single game. I mean, great Holy Cross duo right there, and CJ Hansen, the guard for the Chiefs, and Coker, the wide receiver for the Chiefs. Garrett, I know you were like watching the film and you're like, David, have you seen this Coker guy? Like, he's actually really good.
He's
and
pretty
so
good. He had some good film.
It's cool that he got a UDFA contract and made an active roster. So
it's interesting that I saw this comment just now because I really wanted to talk about this, and we talked about this last week a little bit, and it's good to bring it back now. So obviously Pacheco has the possibility of coming back this week. My expectations for that would most likely be he suits up if the game gets heated down the stretch, which it's the Chiefs. It's the Chiefs. Of course it is. We're going to be somehow tied with them in the fourth. It's just going to happen, right? But I would expect him to really not play much, if at all. I'd assume he'll suit out, might go in if it gets a little hairy. I wouldn't want to risk it. It's the Panthers. I'd rather him get rested up fully, give him another week if he's ready to just go into the playoffs. Kareem's been lights out. I don't think he needs too much help back there right now. But next week, following that with the Raiders, I would expect him to be back and fully ready to go.
Well, and the story of this game has been for me, it needs to be a get right game. And that is a get right game for the guys we have on the roster right now. So let Pacheco and Amenahue rest. We need Mahomes to get back to feeling confident in his tackles, and that might happen with the subpar defensive line play from the Panthers. We need the tackles to get better at blocking, which hopefully they can get right doing that. We need Xavier Worthy to feel confident running deep again. Hopefully we get right with that. And we need our defensive line to get home and sack Bryce Young. With the left tackle out for their game, he's been out for a while. And honestly, the Panthers O-line, while revamped with expensive players, hasn't exactly been the greatest thing ever. It's coming along. But let's get a get right game. Let's get some sacks. Let's get some picks. Let's get Trent McDuffie his first pick. That would be amazing because he's deserved it. And let's just get everybody right, you know?
And if anyone's going to throw Trent McDuffie's way, it's going to be Bryce Young. So hopefully he can take advantage of that, get a few off of him.
Yeah, and I mean, it would be nice. And honestly, Garrett, I'm only expecting to win by like 10 or 14 points. I mean,
yeah, it's not going to be a blowout everyone's saying it's going to be because as we've seen, we don't blow out teams. Doesn't matter who we're playing.
Unless
we
the
could be playing, unless it's the Saints, just out of nowhere. But it wasn't even really like a crazy blowout.
I know.
Like we're not going to be the Lions and blow some team out like 51-6. It's just not going to happen.
Crazy.
That's just not the way we play football anymore, sadly. But I mean, I obviously expect us to win the game. At this point, prediction wise, I mean, it could be anything. I mean, the offense we've seen from week 1 till now has been just different every single week. People are getting the ball in different ways. I still think
like we said,
I still think Worthy continues on track of what he produced last week to now. I think hopefully Mahomes can maybe even connect deep downfield. I'm begging for one deep connection to Worthy. It hasn't happened yet. So
I'm honestly expecting Hopkins to not play that much this game, or not be that big of a contributor too, as a side thing. Because again, I think we are saving him. Also, to keep in mind, he is injured. Like, he did have a injury in the preseason that he is working towards, and it just playing through because he's just that big of a beast. So I guess I could see why we're being careful with him. But yeah, Noah Gray, Jackson just told me that he actually only had like 2 snaps less than Kelsey in that game. Which, by the way, how did we not talk about that, Garrett? Kelsey was shut down in the Bills game. We had Hopkins pretty much minimalized in the Bills game. You have Worthy go off. You have Kareem Hunt getting game scripted out by Andy Reid. And then the defense has their worst game ever. Why can't everyone be good at the same time? It never happens. They're never all clicking at the same time.
I feel like with this team, if we all click, we're all in the right cylinders, we're all working like clockwork, we all fit in, we can play anybody and beat them. But Mahomes will have a bad game. and then the defense will be great, and then Mahomes will have a great game, and then the defense will be bad. We just need to fit together. I'm assuming come playoff team. I mean, obviously we're always different when it comes to playoffs. So
Yeah, and I mean, Jacob Punch in our comments just said too. We stopped running the ball. We kept getting away from the screen game. I mean, Mahomes didn't even have 200 passing yards in that game, yet he had 3 touchdowns passing, which was a unique stat line for him this season. Like, we just gotta. Yeah, someone said we need to put 40 points on the Panthers. I would love to see that, honestly, but we got to run the ball more. We got to protect Mahomes, especially with our Pacheco and Carson Steele needs to learn how to pass protect. Our tackles need to learn how to pass protect. But
our tackles need to do really everything. They need to learn a lot. So,
but yeah, and I think too, a lot of it's phantom pressure is what I like to call it. It's when Mahomes escapes a clean pocket because he sees a look that should institute pressure or shouldn't institute pressure, but it will with our tackles. And he's escaping clean pockets, creating pressure because our tackle play has been so inconsistent. That's another problem. And that's hard to, start trusting your offensive line all of a sudden. That's not something that just magically happens, that you just trust the O-line. And hopefully that happens against the Panthers.
When you open your front door and it's always raining, you always have to bring an umbrella, right? So not exactly sure what can fix that later down the stretch. We need to have a couple good games where there's not a lot of pressure, and then I think Mahomes will finally get used to it, get a little comfortable.
I'm really liking the Pacheco idea that he comes back as a great pass protector on third downs, and that kind of solves all the problems. I mean, we joked earlier, but it was true, where the Worthy touchdown to in the Chargers game was because of Sky Moore's blocking. So, yeah. I mean, hey.
Well, I mean, what are your predictions for the Panthers game, David?
I think the Panthers are kind of slept on in some aspects with this new last 3 weeks team. They got 2 wins, some gritty wins. I mean, the Saints have looked great since firing their head coach. They didn't fire their head coach in the Panthers game. Panthers beat the Saints. Panthers just coming off another win against the Giants team, a Giants team that's not good either. But, you build wins with a young core. They're starting to have an identity for once, I don't know if Jonathan Brooks will come back for this game. He's also been activated off IR, but Chuba Hubbard is having a breakout career year. You have Coker, you have, Xavier Leggett, who's looked really solid. Maybe Jatavion Sanders has been looking good too. Like, they have some weapons on offense. So I think they get up to 14 points. They scored 14 on the Broncos defense. So I'm saying we need to put up 28 points or I'm not happy. So 28-14 is the exact same score as the Broncos game. We're going to hold off on Schrader having to kick field goals yet. So that's going to cause some anxiety for us. But, that's the prediction I'm going with for this week.
Yeah, I'm kind of in a similar boat. I think they do put 14 on us. I'm going to go 35-14. I think it's 35-7 till late in the fourth. And then, as we've seen before, late in the fourth, when we're up by a lot, their defense is just going to let them go down the field, and on their last possession, they're going to score their final possession. It'll be 35-14.
Okay, I like that too. And I mean, Jackson, what do you got for a prediction here?
Garrett, me and you somehow in the last couple months have been on the same wavelength in a lot of different aspects, and this is the same one. I think it'll also go 35-14.
It's just, hey, I say it a lot, but it's a gut feeling. What can I say? I got a big gut.
That was funny as heck. But like, I'm pretty confident that this will be a good get right game. I mean, yeah, as Forge a Headao. I'm sorry, I don't know how to say that username.
Forge ahead is what you're looking for, David.
Oh,
it's Forge ahead.
Forge ahead, AW. But they need to step up the sack total. Like, wrapping up fundamentals. Lockdown 13 saying blame Nagy for the offense. I mean, we did earlier. I mean, there is some correlation there. And the thing sucks is that as long as you win Super Bowls, Nagy's never going to go away. So, like...
Yeah. It's like, if this were any other year, would he be on the high seat? Yeah, but we're going for a three-peat. So you can't really look at your offensive coordinator and go, hey, by the way, you're fired.
The best thing that could happen to Chiefs Kingdom is Nagy, whose contract does expire at the end of the season, he gets hired to go somewhere else. Like, someone else. Maybe the Bears want to
go
try
to the Bills. Bills, please take Matt Nagy.
maybe the Bears want to make him head coach again because, he was head coach of the year, which is another crazy life stat. So,
yeah, but that team was built a ton on the defense.
That's true. And also, he inherited a really great team, and the Bears team was already built pretty well. And hey, I mean, Mitch Trubisky didn't look bad that year, but sometimes you get too comfortable, and maybe Matt Nagy has just gotten too comfortable with having Mahomes. And I mean, one of the other critiques I've seen on Nagy too is that people say Eric Bieniemy would chew players out and would like yell at them and get that fire lit under them to actually respond. Whereas, I don't know how to say this without
Nagy's
being
a little bit more
vulgar.
laid back.
Nagy's
a little bit more laid
a
back.
butt tapper. He's a I don't know. He's a he's a kiss ass. That's what I was looking for. He's a kiss ass. And so
Yeah,
it's more
so far, I mean, really want to just thank you guys, especially on the Instagram live comments for joining us for live. This is our first live, hopefully the first of many. It's been a really good experience. I think it went pretty well. I don't think we had any big major hiccups, so
yeah, I'll have to see how the audio mixing and all that stuff came out at the end. I mean, we have been filming it all in one take for the last 18 episodes anyway. The only editing we've had to do has been audio related. So, I mean, we think we got the audio fixed. The other issue is our schedule has been completely all over the place. We don't know when Garrett will have a surprise film session and all of a sudden he's getting back at 8.
Hey, season's over, so I got a lot more time, baby. We can take it.
So,
but yeah, thank you guys for coming to the live. Make sure if you haven't already, go subscribe to the YouTube. We post a lot of stuff there. You'll see our whole VODs just on the podcast. You have a couple clips from the podcast on there too. So
yeah, and I mean, keep staying in on the Instagram. I mean, we do have a Discord. It is in the subscription. It hasn't gotten going yet. In retrospect, we're not.
I think if a lot of people join it, we're gonna like push it a bit more. But until that happens, we're just gonna keep that on the side.
So if you want to join it, it's probably the best way to contact us because there's no one in it. So if I can't respond to all the DMs, but I'll see your message in the Discord if you decide to join that. Also, leave the podcast a 5-star rating. This episode is going to drop tomorrow. So when it comes out, go to Spotify and give it a 5-star rating.
But you guys saw it first. If you're online, you guys saw it first.
And then Jackson, do you have any closing remarks as well? I mean, thanks Jackson for managing our comments today. And he's been a huge help. So
I've got none.
He's got none. As always,
but we're
guys,
always just talking shop, baby.
We're just talking shop.